right, so what I have sitting beside me is about a 12 or 13-year-old HP Prebuilt. Last week we were talking about the new HP Prebuilt that I got, and I'll go ahead and link that video so you guys can go back and look at it if you want to. But in the meantime, I was able to also go ahead and leave my hands on one from about 2008. I believe it's an a6512 or a 6521 by Hewlett-Packard. At the time, it was a pretty good system. It had an E2200 Core 2 Duo Intel chip. It had 512 meg of onboard on the motherboard memory for the VRAM. It had 4 gig of, I believe it was 666 memory. It came with a 500 gig hard drive, came with a DVD and a couple other things, and it ran on Windows Vista. Yep. That stuff, Windows Vista. What we're going to try to do, because she does not turn on right now, she just tries to go through and cycle, and I'll show you guys that a little bit further in the video, but we're going to go ahead and try to get her fixed out, figure out what the problem is, and see if we can't do some upgrades. First of all, we're going to go ahead and go to an SSD. We just go ahead and 256 inland. We're going to go ahead and upgrade, do 8 gig, so we're going to double the memory because that's about all she'll take is 8 gig. And then we're going to go ahead and upgrade to a 6600, a Q6600 by Intel, and see if that won't help because that's a quad core chip. And if all else works on that pretty well, we're going to go ahead and try to put Windows 10 on it. That might be an adventure in itself, but we're going to go ahead and try to do that and see if we can't slap a graphics card, 1650 Super in it, a GTX 1650 Super, to see if we can't get a little bit more performance, to see if we can't kind of go head to head with some of the benchmarks that we took from our newer HP Prebuilt that I did recently. As you guys might know, if you've seen the video, HP did a horrible job. They kind of kneecapped the performance of this by the way they restrict the BIOS and the memory and all that stuff in the newer one. But this older one didn't have those restrictions. So we're going to try to see if we can't do something with this and maybe see if we can run head to head. I don't know if we'll be able to do it, but I figure even if it's got weaker bus and weaker memory, then maybe we can go ahead and kind of compensate that with a better graphics card. So we'll see what happens. But come along for the ride because it promises to be an adventure. So at this point, it tries to start, but can't. And I think I know part of the reason, but we're going to do a little exploring. And it keeps trying and just can't do it. So you can kind of almost hear that buzzing reset sound, but I'm thinking we know what part of our problem is here. So yours truly is going to be doing a little bit of cleanup and seeing if that power supply is having a problem, or maybe there's something in the CPU cooler or the hard drive, or just what might be going on in here. But we'll clean it up first, then we'll see what's going on, and then we might start to swap out a few parts and see if we can't make it work. It might be a heck of a sleeper build if we can get something going here. Okay, so with a little bit of cleanup on the fans there and a whole lot else, and I will take everything out and clean it all down and all that stuff before we get started, I found out a couple things that are definitely bad. Power supply, definitely bad. 500 gig hard drive, definitely bad. So I have rather creatively rigged up my 650 watt power supply. I'm sorry, yeah, it's like a 650 watt Thermaltake power supply to an extension sleeve because I have an 8-pin connector and the motherboard takes a 4-pin connector, so that will not work for me. So I had to be rather creative. I do not recommend doing this. Please don't. It does have a regular 24-pin connector. It's an ASUS motherboard. It's a pretty solid motherboard, and for its day, this thing was pretty boss. It was pretty high up there on the food chain. And if it will focus here, you can see that I've got 4 1 gig sticks of RAM, which I'll be swapping out for 2 gig, and I've had to reset a couple things. I had to go ahead and change the battery that was in the CMOS. For those of you that don't know, it's right there, and it's a pretty good. Sometimes when you have failures on your motherboard, that might be one thing to check that's kind of overlooked because people forget about it. But So we're going to do a few more things of troubleshooting. We're going to start trying to figure out if this power supply is actually bad, or if just connectors need cleaning up, or whatever might be going on. And we're going to test that a little bit. Or I don't recommend it, but I'm going to look inside to see if a fuse might be blown. So I'm not going to do a lot of exploring, because power supplies are extremely dangerous. You can injure yourself very severely and or actually kill yourself. There's capacitors in there that hold a lot of power, and they're just waiting for somebody to zap. So do not play in power supplies. That is my disclaimer. If I decide to do that, I am doing so at my own risk. So again, here is what is in here, and I am installing a 320 gig hard drive for the time being. I have an SSD on order that will be in the next day or so, and we'll do some more troubleshooting and see if we can't turn this little HP rig into something worth playing with. So I kind of realized as I was recording this that I didn't go through much of the step of the steps that I took to actually clean this up. And I probably should have done that a little bit better, and I apologize for not doing that. But I did go through almost an entire can of air spray, or the cleaner, the electronic dusters type stuff. I went through almost the entire can of this. About 20 or 25 of these wipes. They're the alcohol type wipes, or the wet type wipes for cleaning down stuff. You can see I've used a measurable amount, well, you can't see, but I've used a measurable amount of the alcohol, brand new bottle of isopropyl alcohol, and on top of the stuff that I was using in the cleaning kit that I actually got from my sister where I got the computer. So there was quite a bit, it was quite involved. At one point my vacuum cleaner even kind of looked at me and said, "Nah, bro, this one's yours, you got this." I ain't doing it. There was a lot of extensive stuff that I had to do cleaning up. I didn't have to take the actual motherboard out, but I did take the cover off and everything. I took the fan, the CPU fan, and everything out. I could not get the fan separated from the heatsink itself, so I had to go about and clean that as best I could. But as far as everything else went, I took the back fan off. I cleaned it up completely. I blew everything else out, cleaned everything else up, and like I said, it was an adventure putting it all getting it all cleaned out and putting it all back together. A couple things to kind of a side note here. I did already have an SSD that I ended up using to go in there, which was cool. I ordered all the rest of it, but it didn't cost me that much to fix. It was just it took 2 or 3 days to clean up and do. The most fun part, I guess you could say, was trying to install Windows 10 on this, and so that's where we have it back. So after quite a bit of an adventure, cleaning it up, getting some new stuff in it, swapping out memory, putting a new SSD. Also, we changed the CPU. It's got a quad core, the Q6600 in there instead of the E2200 that was in there before. About the same clock speed. I found out that I was not able to overclock it at all. New power supply. Even went ahead and put a new PCIe. Just a 4 hub USB 3, because otherwise it only has USB 2. I do have to do some other things, but to let you know, it is this one right here. So then she comes up. We can see we've got our 256. We've got our CD that we still have hooked up. We've got all of our 2 gig RAM sticks in there. So far so good. Yep. And she boots pretty quick into Windows, so when she gets around to it, any moment now. I call this one aisle 3 because we definitely had to have a cleanup on aisle 3. Any second now she'll come up and say, "Oh, I failed." Relatively quick now with the SSD in it. I'm not using a hard drive, but I will hook that back up at one point or another, test for failures and all. But I mean, she is what she is. Right now she doesn't have a video card, so she won't even run Heaven benchmark, but she gets a whopping 510 in Cinebench 20. Cinebench R20, a whole whopping 510, which compares it with about, I don't know, 7 or 8% of what a 3700X does. Oh no, 1700X, which is with the HP behind it. Roughly right now it's getting about 15% of what this score will be, but we'll see how things compare if I can stick that that graphics card, that 1650 Super in there, and see if we can't do something or get something to run, because we are stuck with the graphics that is on this newer HP. So we'll see what happens. But my next step would be trying to run some benchmarks and maybe start to do a head-to-head comparison and see how that goes. But in the time being, we have brought it back to life. We have got a new power supply, like I said, some new memory, new SSD, swapped out a new CPU, and she's running Windows 10. So that's a good thing. And we'll just have to take it from there. So kind of follow along if you don't mind. Hit that like button and that subscribe. Still trying to hit 200 subscribers. A little bit of a jump the past couple days. I appreciate it. And don't be afraid, like I said, hit that like button. Finish me and follow me on all the other social media. I really am good at this when I learn how to talk. I promise I'm going to be good at this, really. But for now, that's all I got. So I'll see you later.